This is our Java level 4 class. It's the second one. Last week, we learned the file class. We will continue learning file class today. So last week, we learned that a file class, it may represent a folder. It may not be a physical file. It can be a folder. So we can use the methods that the file class provides to access the files in the folder. So I give you the homework. Ask you guys to list all the files, not a folder. So let me show my screen here. So if you let me go here. So this is what I ask you guys to do. I want you to turn in an array of all files. Actually, what I need is the full path with the full file name. So how can you get that? Does anyone have an answer? How can you get the full path with the full file name if you have a file? You use, let me go there. Let me just one, okay. Java file. Okay. So what can we do? You say if you get the absolute file, what will you get? You use get an absolute file, so you will get the full path, including the file name to that file. Okay, so what I need is that you get that, and then you save it to an array. All right, so here is the function I gave to you last week. And you see here, if it is a directory, then you go to the subdirectory, right? Try to get that file. So I have this method get absolute path. So the only thing you actually need to do, is that in this case, you keep going. You do not add this to the array. If it is a file, then you add it to the array. That's what you need to do. You just do a small modification. Of course, in the array, you cannot change its size, right? And you may not know how many files you have. Then how can you create an array, right? If that's the case, you guys can create an array list. Then you just add it to that array list. So that's what I need from you, okay? But I want you guys to understand all those code here I gave to you last week. So this check if the file is a directory or not. This that you can get the full path, including the file name. Okay, so let's move on. So last week we learned is that we list all the files in the folder. So today we wanted to find out how can I find a specific file type. Let's say we only care about text file. So how can I just list all those text files? I do not care if it's a zip file, a Microsoft Word file. I don't care. How can we do it if we use a file class? So I want you guys go back to the file class website. Can you guys go there? If you do not have the path, let me give it to you. This is the file class. All right. So let's just take a look at a list method. Okay, you say list method. This is a list method. We have an overloaded list method. So let's click on this one. All right. So can I get help from Ryan? Can you help me read this paragraph? Right.
Returns an array of strings naming the files and directories in the directory denoted by this abstract path name that satisfy the specified filter. The behavior of this method is the same as that of the list method, except that the strings in the returned array must satisfy the filter. If the given filter is null, then all names are accepted. Otherwise, a name satisfies the filter if and only if the value true results when the file name filter.accept file string method of the filter is invoked on this abstract path name and the name of a file or directory in the directory that it denotes.
Thank you, Ryan. It's a long paragraph, and the wording is really not that smooth. But the purpose is that if you use this list method, you can filter the files. So then let's click on the file name field. Let's click on it. All right, you see file name field. It is an interface. Now it becomes interesting. We learned what an interface is. And with the interface, usually you cannot create an instance of it, or you cannot instantiate an instance. Why? Because the method in the instance is not implemented. Because it's not implemented, so the system doesn't know what it will do. But let's just look at this interface. File name field, and let's look at that. And then all methods, okay, it only has one method. And the method is called accept. So if you wanted to implement an interface, you just need to implement this method, right? This method will return a Boolean value. It accepts a file and a string name, okay, a string, all right? So of course, this will be an abstract method because in an interface, no method is implemented. Of course, after Java 8, there are two kind of methods that can be implemented in the interface. One is a static, okay. One is default. All right. So let's see how can we use an interface to filter the file. So let me come back to the slides. Okay, file name. So refresh our mind, we know an interface method is empty, it does not do anything. Therefore, we need a either to use a concrete class or to implement the method. So let's see, how do we implement the method? So we just create a file name field. This is inline construction. Okay, you say you use new file name field and inline, then you implement this method. So public boolean accept, you accept a file directory and you use a string name. You just return name ends with X. So this will help you field all other files if they are not in a text file. So let me give you this code and let's just use it. Okay, it will list all the text files only. Pay attention to the file name field which implements the interface method except. You see this is an inline implementation. You see you use new file name field and this part, okay, up to here. So the whole thing here is just one statement. You are trying to instantiate an interface because you cannot instantiate an interface. So you are forced to implement this method. All right. So I give you that code and now you look at my screen. And then let's just use it, okay? You see, I use the list here. So let me change that. Okay, let me put my code here. And let me just import. Just go ahead and input. Copy this. File name field. Right. So now I come down to here. So I implemented this field and I instantiate an instance here. Now I use children list. Okay, so let me comment out this line of code. I run it. So this is a children. You use list. So what you got? You will get all the names of the file, right? You will get all the names of the file. All right, so let me just save my code and I needed to do something here. I really do not need those, okay? So this should actually go with the old file, old method. So let me just comment out this. Okay, so I have the children. Okay, so I just need to fill it out. I just need to print this out. Okay. So you see, this will be all the file names. And then if the file name is not null, then I wanted to loop through it and print them out. Okay. This will only get the text file. So let me run it. So if I run this one now in my code, okay, if I run this one now, etemp, let me check my template if I have any text file here. Just check. Um, I do not. Oh, I have two. Okay, I have two. So let me just run it and let's see what I got. You see here, it filter out all other files. Only these two files are kept it. So you see here our method. If we use the file name field, if I use a file name field, that's what I got. I will be able to find all text files or text file. So can you guys look at my code and hopefully you can understand it? So I use the list and I give the filter to it. So it will only accept the text file because this is what I got. This is what I decided, right? All right, so now let me ask you guys to do an exercise. Take a look at the file filter interface. Now think about updating the list files method. Can you implement a file filter? So our method list files will only return folders. I give you guys 10 minutes to do this one. So what I want you guys to do is that come take a look at the method here. It was list files, right? It was list files. So now let me come back to the method. List files and click on it. So it's very similar to the file name field, but this time it is a list file. It's not a file name, okay? So you click on file field. Of course, this is also an interface. And you see the interface also has a method called accept. All right. So I'm not telling you what exactly the code should be, but I hope I give you enough information. Now I want you to modify the code and you can return all the folders. You can find just the folders, okay? Not files. See how can you modify the code and make it work. I have the example here already. So if you do not have that code, let me just copy it and send it to you again. You guys just think, how should we modify this code and make it a field just for folders? I give you guys 10 minutes to do this, okay? So if you finish, let me know. If you have a question, let me know, okay? So please work on it. If you get lost, also let me know. If you are confused, let me know. Please work on it. I really want you to practice on it. If you get lost, let me know. Do you know how to do it? Do you guys have an idea how to do this one? You have 4 more minutes. If you finish Can you send me your code in the chat? Erin, your method itself is right. It does give me all the directories. But what I really want you to do is to use the file field. So let me show you. I really want you guys to really help to write this. Okay. Here is a file name field. I want you guys to write a file field. That's what I'm looking for. Anyone finished? Nobody? So that means I needed to do it myself. Let me just check at least one student to see how far you guys got. Okay. All right. So Ryan, do you mind share yours, or you can tell me how far you have got?
I'm still coming up with a strategy.
Okay. All right. So let's do it together. So here is my code. So you just run the file filter, right? File field, you just create a new instance because it's an interface. So you have to implement the method. The method is accept. And the file passing in, you just check if it is directory or not. If it is a directory, then you just return true. If it's not, of course, it will be false, right? Okay. So once you have this file field established or instantiated, then you use dir list of files, use this file field. That way you will get all the folders. So let me copy this file, copy this code. Let me come in here. Okay. So this is a file field. All right, so I use dir list of files. I get a children. The children are all files now, right? So they are all the folders actually. This field will filter out all those that are not folded. So only folders will be kept. So what we needed to do is that, okay, I will just use children here. So I do not have to change my code because I have using children here. All right. So then I just print out. Let me use get absolute path. I will print them out. I will just get the absolute path. So here, let me just run it. You will see I get all the folders in my eTemp folder. So you see I use eTemp, right? So it will get all the subfolders there. So let me save my code and run it. You see here. These are all the folders. Let's say jar files, JLayers, JL GUI 3.0, P2, team code, OpenFix, right? So here I got all the folders because I implemented this file field. So let me give you all this code. So if you want to keep it, and you can keep it. Let me give you the code, and that's the way to implement it. All right, so move on. So these two exercises, now you understand more what is an interface, what is the class, and its method, okay? So when you use the interface, you have a local implementation, just like what we did. It's a local implementation of its method, so you can use it. And the local implementation is inline. Why? You see, the whole thing actually is just one statement. You see the semicolon here. Here is just one statement. You're just trying to instantiate it. An instance of the file field. Now, this is just to help you implement this abstract method. All right, so that's a good skill you can learn. All right, so you did not create a class using the interface. You did not create a new class of it. You did not create a child of it. You just instantiate locally implemented inline. Keep that in your mind. There will be a lot of such implementation when you do an GUI application. So if we move along, if we do Java 5, we will learn GUI, okay? So you create a window, just like all windows. You create a window, so you have a user interface. So see how we implement those. All right? Here I want Aaron to help me, okay, with this one.
With the file class, you could create a virtual object that does not exist in your hard disk, say c/temp/imagine_file.txt. This file does not exist, but you can still use it to do all actions that a file object has. The same applies to a virtual folder.
Thank you, Aaron. Very good. Thank you very much for helping me. So you see here, let me just go back. All right, you see here, it is said it's an abstract path name. Abstract path name. So that means this file really does not have to exist in your computer, on your disk. As long as you create something like that, you can use it. You can use it, okay? It's a virtual. It's a virtual. Of course, if this file existed, then it's a physical file on your disk. But if this one does not exist like this, it's okay. You can still use it in your code. The only problem is that when you try to read it, then you may have a problem because this file does not exist. How can you read it, right? How can you access it? But if you just do this, if you say file, new file, and then you provide such a path to it, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine, okay? Just give you that idea. So what methods can we use to create a file or folder? Please read these three methods. All right, can you guys go to the file class and then read these three methods? First one is create a new file, and then you have the make dir, right? Make dir, make dirs. So can you guys go ahead, click on it and read it? And then this one. Can you guys go spend the 5 minutes with these four methods? So now we can use the file class to create a file or create a folder in our computer. Right? So let's come back. So you know that we can use create a new file to create a file, make dir to create a directory. Before we do that, we wanted to check if this already exists or not. If it already exists, you really do not want to recreate it, right? All right, so let's do an access. Can we write a method to create the file or the folder that passing in and return the created file object? This is necessary when you operate on file object. You want to create it if it does not exist. Can we go ahead and write in the method? Give you 3 minutes. If you have no idea, then we will do it together. 3 minutes, okay? I will check at least one student. And if you tell me you don't know how to do it, then I will do with you, okay? Okay, 1 more minute. then I will check your area. If you have no idea, you can type a message to me privately. If you get anything done, then let's just work on it. All right. Okay, so let's do it together. So we wanted to create a method, and if you pass in a string to me, I will use that string to create a file, right? So this will be the method I'm going to create. It will return a file. So that's why I use a public file and I create a file. And then what you give to me is a file, okay? If a file. So the first thing I wanted to check is that if this file exists. If it already exists, I just need to return it back to you, okay? If it does not exist, then I will try. I will see if this file is a directory or not. If it's a directory, I will just use the file make it directory. If it's not a directory, then I will just use a file, create a new file. If there's a problem, then I will say what problem it is. I want to print it out. Then I will return now. I could not create a file, right? Or I could not create a file folder. So that's why I return now. But if there is no problem, so this section or this block will not be executed. So then I will just come to return a file. So what you send it to me, I return it back, but I did the work for you. I created it for you. All right, so let me give you this code, and I want you guys to have it. Okay, let me put in my class, STEM class. All right, so let me do this. So let me just use this one, okay? So I come to my main method. Now, let me just stop that one. I will use my STEM dot create file, right? So what shall I do? I will use file, new file. Let me give a path to it. Let me use C. Sorry, Aaron, if I use your name. I'm not trying to use it in a bad way. I just wanted to make sure that we know I have such a folder created using this code, okay? So I say Aaron. Let me put it here. Let me put it in the try block. My file. With a file or my file. And then touch. What? I do nothing here in this catch block. What? So let me run my code. And then now, access is denied. Let me just put this into temp. Okay, let me run my code now. So if I go to my C drive, if I go to temp folder, now you should see this in a folder called Erin. Okay, so Erin is correct. Okay, so I create a file here. So I want you guys to try the code yourself to see if you can create a file. And you guys do that. So let me check your code and check your result. Let me stop here. And I want you guys to try the code. ED, can you use the method I give to you? And then now you just try to create a file. And then you show me your result, okay? Can you share your screen to me? If you have a question, then you can ask me, you let me know. It's kind of dangerous if you directly use Windows. Yeah, that will be, because that's a system folder. So it's better not to do that. Or here you use get files, it's okay. Now you need to use a create a file. Call that method I just give to you. Create a file. Yeah. Give it a new file name. That will not work because you already did not tell. This will create a file, right under your current application folder. But you see, you have a mismatch, type mismatch, because create a file actually requires a file. Here you give it a string, right? So that's why you see how I wrote my code. I need to create a file first. So I need to create a file object first. So can you stop sharing? Let me show you what I did. So this is my code. I need to create a file object first. And then I use create a file. So Aaron, if I make this like a dot txt file, sorry, txt. If I run it again, you will see I have a txt file not created here. Aaron.txt. All right, so let me just remove it. Hopefully, Aaron, you do not feel bad I use your name here. It's just, trying to make it more impressive. All right. Move on. Delete method will delete the file object from the disk. If the file object is a directory, then the directory must be inputted in order to be deleted. This method will throw an IO exception if the deletion fails. Can you guys try to delete a file? Okay. Try to delete a file. So you just have the file object call the delete method. It will delete it. And if there's a problem, then it will throw an IO exception. It will throw an IO exception. So today we learned what? We learned the file name field, file field. So we can implement an interface inline, and then we can use it in the list file or list method. And then we learn to create a new file or make dir or make dirs. We can check if a file exists or not using the exist method. And then we also can use the delete method to delete a file. Okay, so if you are a hack and you program an application, if unfortunately a person downloaded your application and your application will crawl the file system of that user, just do a loop like what we did yesterday. Get into a folder, find all the files, then delete, 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 delete. Then you will remove all the files in the computer of that person. That's very, very bad. It's dangerous. It may be illegal. Okay. If this happened in the government, then that person may be arrested and put into jail. Okay, here you see you can use the file object and then use delete. It will delete the file. All right, I have several small quiz and I want you guys to do it. And you guys give me your answer. Aaron, you're good. You're smart. Yes, you have the right answer. Eddie, you are also good. So I have 3 other students. Okay, I need 2 more answers. How about you, Edie and Serena? All right, Serena. You have the right answer. The right answer is A. B is not right because if you create and you just use a file object, it will not create that file for you. You have to use create a new file. Okay, it will create it. But a file, as I mentioned, it can be virtual. It does not have to exist. So A is the right answer. All right. Cool. All right. Everyone knows it. That's good. D is the right answer. you wanted to test if it exists or not, you just use exist method. Very good, you guys have a good memory. So how about this one? All right. Very good. The right answer is A. Make it dir. It will create a food for us. Very good. Okay. So this homework. So let's read this one. And hopefully you understand it. So write an application. Actually, just ask you to write in Java method, okay, that will take a path as a string. So you just pass in a string, and this string is the path. Let's say C colon slash temp. That's a path. If the path is a file, it will return an array list with these files full path as a sole item. Okay. So what you give it is a file, then you need to return the absolute path, and you just return it. What you return is an array list. Now in this array list, it only has the absolute path to this file. But if it is a fold, it will return an array list of the full path of all files in this folder and its subfolders. So this is very similar to the one I asked you to do last week. Okay, but you just added it to the array list. This array list is sorted ascending alphabetically. So when you get multiple files in it, you wanted to sort this array list. I wanted to say your code to sort it. Okay. Do not return the fold, just return the files. Okay. Just return the files. Is the requirement clear to you? Everyone? Can you give me some feedback in the chat? See this homework is clear or not?
I think it's just a bit confusing what you mean by path, but other than that, I think it's fine.
Okay, so let me make it more clear. Okay, this is a path. This is a file. It could be just a folder. Okay, could be a folder like this. All right, so does this help, Eddie?
Yeah, that should work better.
All right, so let me give this to you. So your method should take care of easy cases. It may be a file, it may be a folder, okay? All right, so let me return this class back to Miss He. So let me stop